It's another weekend. You may notice that the engine's already in the car. I've done a bunch of work off camera, little things, but got the engine in now and a few other things done. So I'll give you a look around and show you what I've done. Alright, so I'll show you what I've done. So you'll notice there's coolant in it now. So what I did was I drilled a hole in the back here, stuck a brass barb fitting in there, and then JB welded around it. So that's a good tight seal, hasn't leaked yet. And then I just blocked this off. I filled them up, but they still need to be bled. Connected it to the hose there. So the hose that was here and originally would have in the ion come around to the reservoir here. I turned it around and then just used a double-ended barb fitting. Do the same thing with the overflow. That's connected there. I did the fuel line, so you can see here I have AN fittings connected up to the fuel line there, and then for the vapor line I just used some nylon fittings connected to the stock lines here. And then I also connected the clutch line here with a compression fitting. So I'm unsure whether this one's going to actually hold, but I still need to bleed the clutch, and we'll see. But I'm pretty hopeful because these clutch lines are really hard, so I think I got a good seal on there. So now I just have to do some of the electrical, and I'll be able to see if I can turn it over. Alright, we're back for another weekend here. So first goal, gonna get these all connected, put the struts on the knuckles, then I can put the wheels on. Then what I'm gonna try and do is take the car off of the ramps here at the back, lower it down on the wheels, and move it over to this side of the garage here. And then from there I can work on doing some of the wiring and seeing what's left to get it started. Okay, so progress update. Put the wheels on the car. The brakes still aren't connected, but I bolted up the struts, put the wheels on. It's now on this side of the shop. I got these tire dollies to move it around on. So here we have a big mess of wiring, but the plan is I've got the ECU there. Here's the fuse block. So I'm going to hook this all up to the battery. Here's the gauge cluster and part of the steering column. So I'm going to see if I can put the key in there and what happens. So I'm going to get this all wired together and let you know what happens. Okay, we're back for another weekend here. Last weekend I wired it all up, it didn't start. So I went and we have a bunch of pinout diagrams. We're going through the wires, everything that I've already cut, and trying to figure out why it's not starting. I've hooked up the battery, basically it's the entire wiring harness outside of the car. I was hoping I could just turn the key and it would at least crank. So we're going to get out the voltmeter and start probing things and see where it goes. Hey guys, welcome back to Noble Garage. So it's the following weekend now. Got a new rad hose so we can actually try and attempt to start it. Everything's wired up. We think it's good to go. So we're going to put this on, connect the battery, and we'll try and crank it. Alright, so we have the new hose in. I've connected up the fuse box, the ECU. We did a bunch of stuff with removing wires from a lot of the plugs here. So we're pretty confident that it should turn over now. Every single light's on the dash here, but So it's not going to actually start, but we're just going to see if we can crank the starter. So here we go. Woo! Alright guys, we got the fuel pump hooked up. Everything else is wired up. I know it looks like a mess. But assuming everything's correct, if we turn the key here, it might start. Here we go.
Going over the garage?
No.
Yeah, it's just straight down the stairs, yeah.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Do it. That almost is
almost. Alright guys, we've got some more wiring diagrams. We hooked up the fuel tank pressure sensor, because I think what was happening is it was cranking, but it wasn't keeping the fuel pump on, so we're just essentially firing over with what the pressure was in the fuel lines, and it wasn't providing more fuel. So I think that's it. So hopefully it'll crank here. It's going to be really loud. Ready?
Yeah. Die again?
I don't know. That was way better.
It's better.
Alright, so we've let it sit for about an hour. I think it was flooded. We also didn't have the throttle position sensor plugged in. It was just kind of hidden there at the back of the engine bay, so we'll see if it turns over now. Pretty confident that it might.
All the way down.
We're going to hold down the pedal because apparently if it's flooded, if it won't inject any gas when the pedal's held down, it'll help deflood it. Okay.
Like hold it while you crank it.
Yeah. It's just for a couple cranks, then we'll let go, and then, yeah. Oh, well, you're right. Okay. Alright, here we go. Now we're going to start trying to move the wiring from here over so that we can start it with the key in the wagon. So plan is I'm gonna keep everything connected, so I sort of will just have like jumper leads going to the, tapping into the wires on that harness so that I can keep testing it with this, make sure everything's good, and then hopefully I'll be able to start it with the keys inside there. Alright, so a bit of an update. I've done quite a bit of cleaning up the wiring off camera. So all I have now are just these wires running into the car. And this is what's left connected to the BCM. So I depinned a ton of stuff. This is basically all that I need left. So once I loom it up, it'll not be that much at all. So I've got the gauges working here, and the car will start with the key. So I'm not going to start it right now, but there you can see displays the kilometers. We got some lights on. The tachometer and all that works. So right now what I'm trying to get working is the fuel gauge. I have the old one sitting up there, and the fuel level shows on there, but doesn't work on here. So that's the next thing I have to diagnose, and then I'll give you another update when I've got this all going. Okay, so I've done a bunch of work off camera here. I've cleaned up the wiring harness a ton. I've started taping it up here, so all this here has got taped. I gave up on working on the gauges here because I'm not sure what's wrong. I think there's just an incompatibility between the PCM and the gauge. So the RPM works. When I go for a test drive, we'll see if the speedometer works, and we'll go from there. I might have to end up doing some sort of conversion or using another gauge cluster. I also mounted the fuse box holder here. So there's a stud that I welded on. It's just green right now because I just wanted to throw a quick coat of paint on there so it wouldn't rust over the weekend. And then that bolt comes through. So I'll get that all mocked up in there and give you guys a look. So next steps are cleaning up this wiring, and I took the grommet out there, so I'm gonna get this all finished, wrapped up, and put it into the car. Alright, well that's all I have time for this time, guys. Have to do all the wiring, finish that up next time. So all we have left to do is brakes. I'm working on getting parts for the exhaust, so I'll have to get those ordered, and then we should be good to go for a test drive. So give the video a like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Take it easy.